Election Day is just 7 days away. Feels like we have been talking about it for years, and of course, the whole news of politics has been overshadowed with all of the Sandy talk, but this is potentially having an impact in terms of the campaigning, and as we head into the last stretch here before Americans head to the polls 1 week from today, we want to bring in Ed Pozzuoli. He's a former advisor for Jon Huntsman's presidential campaign, and also want to talk to Leslie Marshall. She is a nationally syndicated host of the Leslie Marshall Show and, of course, a Fox News contributor. Hello to both of you.
Hello.
Hi, good morning.
How are you?
Great, thanks. Leslie, I want to talk with you first a little bit about really what's going on right now, because this is a very delicate balance. You have a part of the country that is in a severe natural disaster, and President Obama has vowed that he's going to stay in Washington and he is going to stay on top of the situation with the recovery efforts and the like. This, as he's had to cancel a number of campaign stops in some of these key, of course, swing states. What do you make of that? Is that going to have any kind of an impact on President Obama as we head into the final stretch here, Leslie?
Yes, it might actually, because I think that, you know, for him not to do what he's doing would be political suicide. And not only that, it would be shirking his responsibilities as commander-in-chief. He is doing what the people elected him to do. He even has praise from a very Republican governor, Chris Christie. And if anything, if the president handles this properly, it could help him with some of those undecided, even though they could fit in my hand at this point, voters out there in key swing states. And because they're going to look, for leadership. They're going to look for leadership who can keep them safe, and, you know, how fast things were done, how well the federal government worked with the governors of each state and the people there. And so far, it seems to be very smooth.
Ed, I want to talk about Mitt Romney here, because he is still in Ohio today, and he is certainly out there still making some of the stumps. However, he's sort of billing some of this as a relief effort, if you will. He's asking some of the supporters that attend these campaign rallies to bring disaster relief supplies. We've read some reports that some of his campaign offices are accepting donations to send to Sandy disaster relief. Is it tough because he is still out on the trail? He's still got a job to do trying to get those undecided voters to go his way, but also trying to sort of bill this as a disaster recovery situation as well?
You know, living in South Florida, we've been through several storms, Wilma and Hurricane Andrew, and you know that thoughts and prayers go out to everybody who's been impacted by the storm. And I think the Romney campaign is trying to strike the right tone. I think the idea around donating canned goods and donating dollars to Red Cross and using both their campaign offices and what were scheduled political events for that purpose is very, very appropriate. And I think that the background of Mitt Romney also lends itself to a certain level of empathy. I think he's shown throughout his life, through his missionary work. I think all that is very important. But I would, in this point, I would agree with Leslie. I think that both the president and Governor Romney, the president needs to do his job that he was elected to do, and Mitt Romney has to strike an appropriate tone for purposes of being empathetic and understanding that this storm is a natural disaster and it's beyond the politics of the moment. As difficult as that is to say, it is beyond the politics of the moment, and so both candidates have to be aware of that.
But Leslie, I want to talk a little bit about how important this particular time period is, because again, it seems like we have been talking about this election now for years, really, and we are finally 7 days before the voters go and make their decision. So what is happening in this final week? What is happening in both of the campaigns from your experience, and the importance of trying to get those undecided voters that you say can neatly fit in the palm of your hand?
Well, Casey, you know, right now, I would agree with Ed that former Governor Romney needs to take the proper tone. However, and I'm sure Ed may not agree with me, on my radio show last night, which is national, and we had a lot of people calling that were sitting in their homes, waiting, you know, for the storm, buckling down. And it was interesting because, honestly, about a third of the people were almost happy that the storm would interrupt the political talk. Because, like you, Casey, they feel like it's been going on and on and on and on. So this is the home stretch, but I think some Americans, especially if they've made up their mind, which most have, are very, very saturated. Obviously, this is a week that would normally be big for not only Governor Romney, but for the president, when you have former President Bill Clinton scheduled to go all over the country, the vice president, right. All of those appearances postponed. However, there are some that said that they felt uncomfortable, and this guy was pro-Romney, and I remember the statement last night vividly, and he's in Virginia, and he said, you know, when you have a bus pulling up with a picture of Mitt Romney, vote for me, and then they're giving you food, he goes, it just doesn't feel right. He said it's still campaigning. It's still politicizing to a degree this. And I think there is a tiny feeling of that, and that former Governor Romney is going to be very careful of that, because right now this focus in all those East Coast states is on the storm. The election now has taken the back burner.
Ed, we've got about 2 more minutes left, and I want to give you the final word, and I want to use it to talk about the polling, because really, by all accounts, most of the polls you look at show the very, very slim margin there between Governor Romney and President Obama. There is a poll out, a Rasmussen poll, that shows Mitt Romney 2 points ahead of President Obama in Ohio. What do you make of that, and you know, how close this race is?
Well, I think it will be close, but here's the question: voters are not really going to vote around this storm. I think Leslie's right. There's a small handful of undecided, but likely not to vote due to this storm one way or another. Make their decision around that. What they're going to make the decision on is the economy, and they've had 4 years to understand the type of leadership that President Obama has brought to the country, and either they're going to vote in favor to continue that and go through another 4 years of what we've gone through, and talk about unemployment and the debt and all of those things, more people on food stamps, more people in poverty, or a clear choice with Governor Romney. And I think you're seeing the polls, the last 2 or 3 weeks, you've seen a significant shift of voters moving to Governor Romney in swing states like Florida, like Ohio, like Wisconsin, and now in play we have Pennsylvania potentially and Minnesota. You know, you've got to follow where the campaigns are spending the money, and for the Obama administration at this late date to make a buy in Pennsylvania and Minnesota spells trouble, because they're on the defense in those states where they should not be at this point.
It is going to be a nail-biter, that is for sure. And Ed and Leslie Marshall, we thank you very much for joining us and taking time out of your day to come speak with us this afternoon.